Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
Ist Ist is a British group that consists of Adam Houghton, vocals guitar, Mat Peters, guitar synthesizer keyboards, Andy Keating bass, and Joel Kay drums. The band effectively channeled the brooding post-punk of seminal bands like Joy Division, bringing the sound of the genre into the 21st century with an electronic twist. Formed in 2014, from the beginning the band had a defiantly DIY attitude, doing everything themselves. Building up buzz gradually through word of mouth, they slowly accrued a hardcore fan base, and without a label or even a manager, were able to sell out large venues. They got airplay on national radio and undertook a well-attended UK tour. In 2020, they released their debut album, Architecture, mastered by Grammy-winning Greg Kelby. Their 2021 follow-up, The Art of Lying, saw them hit the UK charts for the first time, and each subsequent album ranked higher than the one before, with 2023's Protagonist going to number 41 and 2024's Light a Bigger Fire to number 25. Their fifth album, Dagger, arrived in 2026. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got Adam Houghton and Mat Peters from Ist Ist. Matt, first, where are you in the world and how are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm currently on the Wirral, which is near Liverpool, which is near Manchester in the UK. I'm doing very well. It's a lovely, sunny spring day. We're very tired because we just got back from a 3-week tour in Europe and we're just recovering today.
Adam?
I'm in Manchester. Exactly the same, basically.
Okay, so how was the band name chosen, Ist Ist? Where is the origin of that name from?
We were originally going to be called Das Ist, but we thought that maybe it might sound a bit too German, and then we quite liked the idea of having Ist twice. Thought it sounded quite sort of industrial. Just thought it was quite a cool name. That's about it, really. We just like the sound of it. There's not a massively deep meaning in it, and it does confuse quite a lot of German people when they.
Okay, so Matt, heading over to you first. At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you think, okay, I want to be in this world of creativity? How did that journey progress? How did you meet the rest of the band? Let's dive into your story.
I think it was when I was maybe like 9 or 10. I remember it was like a sort of school musical or something like that. And I remember seeing someone that had like a snare drum around their waist and they were sort of playing it. And it was really loud. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to do that, whatever it was. I begged my mum and dad for a guitar for Christmas, and I can't even remember why. I think it probably had something to do with Led Zeppelin. I was a massive Led Zeppelin fan from quite a young age, both for the drums and for the guitar, because I started learning drums and I also started learning guitar, and I was just sort of immersing myself in whatever I could get my hands on, really. Which sort of sums up my whole job in the band, really. It's guitars, it's keyboards, it's piano, and whatever sound effects are sort of needed, really. And that's sort of always been my background. It's just whatever I can get my hands on, whatever opportunity I can jump on, I'll do it. I joined the band from, I met Joel, our drummer, in a music shop that we both started working at. And he was already in the band with Adam and Andy. And most likely because of Adam's influence, and Adam's really into synths and stuff like that as well, and I'd sold Adam a synth in the shop, and then I think Adam had mentioned to Joel, oh, why don't we get Matt in to play some keyboards, and I think Joel was quite against the idea at first, probably because we worked together and I used to be a drummer, maybe, I don't know if that was part of it. But then when I sort of went to Joel and said that my old band had ended and I didn't really know what I wanted to do next, I don't really care if I'm playing drums or anything. I just want to do something else, and that made him realize, oh, the stars have aligned. Let's ask Matt to join. And that was 8 years ago. So I was a much younger, less hairy man.
Adam, your story?
I don't really know if I've got one, to be honest. I've just always been quite a creative person, and I think music was one of the things that stuck more than art or anything else, you know. So I think it was just more of a matter of just being like that forever in a way, and getting more serious once I was old enough to be able to put something together and get the equipment and time and place that I needed to do what I do, you know.
Adam, you first. How do you guys create a song?
A number of different ways. Sometimes one of us will come up with a whole idea, when then we'll develop it together from there. Sometimes there'll just be one idea and we'll develop it together from there. It's completely different. Some comes pretty fully formed, and others come after quite a lot of remodels, you know. But yeah, it's quite a nice process, really. We've done it in a number of different ways because of the different circumstances. Like, for instance, during COVID, we did pretty much everything over Dropbox, so sending parts to each other and then putting them together like a jigsaw, really. Right through to us all being in the room at the same time and just, you know, playing together and seeing what comes out. The latter is a bit more laborious than usual, so we try. Well, I definitely do, but I think we all try and avoid that, because four people in a room starting from scratch with a load of loud instruments doesn't really work for us. It does for some, but not for us.
I just think there's a name or a title of a song there which you just mentioned, like a jigsaw. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt, anything to add regarding the creative process?
Yeah, I think like Adam said, we send a lot of things back and forth, and now that we've got a big pool of songs, we'll probably start listening to them a bit whilst we're on tour, and just picking out a few that when we finish and we've got a bit of time, we'll probably just learn them. And but it's so much easier, like, just to have something that's already exciting and you can just learn it and just play it. And then once you've started playing it as a band, then you start seeing how it feels, and is the feeling right, and is the direction right? Does it need to be faster? Does it need to be slower? Does it need more aggression? Does it need to be softer? You know, it's all those sort of things that I think those things are better decided in the room together. But yeah, I think we're past the days of like just going and turning up and having a few beers and seeing what happens. I don't think we can do that anymore. We need to have things that are ready to be sort of get some wins. Do you know what I mean? And enjoy it.
Okay, so you referenced the feeling. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of NLP. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. This is the way people process information. There's a subsection in NLP called processing skills. Now, every person in the world has a dominant, a secondary, and a tertiary. Dominant means that you'll be in it the most of the day. Secondary may be an hour. Tertiary may be half an hour. There are three of them. There are visual people. Visual people process information through pictures. So as I'm speaking now, a visual person will be creating a picture in their mind's eye. Auditory people, it's about the word, the sentence, the paragraph. So they understand each of those elements and then they process the information. Kinesthetic people, this is, I'll say that word again, kinesthetic. They process information through body language, tone of voice, emotion, energy, and feeling. Focusing specifically on music, because it'll change potentially in other areas of your life. Matt, first, when you're hearing a completed song of your own or someone else's, is it the picture you're seeing? Is it about the feeling, or is it about the lyrics?
Maybe like the visual. Like, I think I can sort of see. No, it's the feeling. I think it's definitely the feeling, and I think that's, I'm quite an intuitive person in that way. I think I can hear what needs to happen. Do you know what I mean? In my sort of internal ear, the sound is in my head, and I'm just trying to work at getting it out and into the song. I think that's how I work a lot of the time.
And Adam, for you?
Both, I suppose, in a way.
Adam, when you're listening to songs by other artists, are you able to relax and just enjoy the song for what it is? Or is your technical brain unpacking what you're hearing?
I can sort of switch that on and off, luckily. I can almost do like active listening and sort of non-active listening, and I enjoy both. But I think one of the things that helps that massively is that I don't really bother with any mixing or production sort of things at all, really. I mean, I use production as a sketch pad more than an actual trying to finish a piece. Like people use sequences to make songs like Ableton or Logic or whatever. I use it as almost like a notebook, really, to develop ideas from there. So when you're listening to music normally, it's more of a just like in the same way that I think anybody probably listens to music and just do they enjoy it or not. And also as well, I mean, another thing that helps is that I listen to quite a lot of different kinds of music, things that are so far away from what I do that there's almost no point in trying to analyze it because I'll never use any elements of it really. So it doesn't really matter. It does happen from time to time, but yeah, I just try not to think about it too much because, like you say, it would potentially ruin it. I think going to live performances, I think that's more so because I mean, I went to watch Deftones recently in Ireland, and as much as I enjoyed the music, I was quite interested in how they were coding all the visuals on the screen at the back of the stage. So there is that. But no, as far as music production goes, you have to be very careful with that because if you listen to something and analyze it too much, then you end up writing a version of it and not realizing that you've done it until after you've finished, and you waste a load of time, and then you realize that you've picked your guitar up, you've played a song, and you've gone, oh well, that can't use that, and you don't realize you've done it because it's just somewhere in your brain. So yeah, it's a good but difficult question. It's a bit of both, bit of everything, and sometimes but not really, and maybe, but I don't know.
And Matt, for you?
I think I like to try and keep the mystery whilst also doing my sort of due diligence and learning techniques that are beneficial to the songs that we write. You know what I mean? So I spend a lot of time learning sort of other people's music, but it's not stuff that we necessarily sound like because I just want to stretch my own abilities. Like I'll learn like a Glenn Campbell song or something like that that's very traditional and very singer-songwritery, but we don't write that kind of music. But I just want to understand what makes that have its effect on me. Do you know what I mean? So that I can hopefully add something to our music that will have that effect on someone else, whilst also not knowing too much about it so that I obsess over it and just try and copy it. Like Adam was saying, it's like you want to sort of understand it enough so that it becomes part of your own intuition, whilst also keeping the mysticism and the feeling just to enjoy it.
Matt, what do you enjoy about performing live?
I think I enjoy the faces when I see someone really enjoying it or singing along. I think that's the best part, honestly. It's a really good question to ask after we've just come back from a really long tour around Europe because it's hard work. But when you see someone when it really means something to even just one sort of person in the crowd, it's like I think that's why I enjoy it and that's why I do it.
Adam?
I think it's because it feels like the final payoff to everything because you've made an album and you've rehearsed and you've traveled and you've done everything that you need to do. You've done all your sort of like businessy bit of it and your admin and all that, and you finally got to the point where it's like, right, it feels like everything's been like leading up to that point, all the planning and all the production elements and the crew and the van and everything, it all goes towards that moment. And when you get up there, it's like, yes, we're here now, we've done it, we've made it to this point, And I suppose the bigger or better the gig, not necessarily bigger, but better the show, the more it feels like the payoff is worth it. And I think that's probably the same in maybe even in sports as well, really. If you done all the training and all the work to get to the point where you're actually going to go on the pitch in whatever game it is you're doing, then it's like, it's all been heading towards this. I think that's the thing for me. And I think what Matt said is absolutely correct, but if I'm honest, I'm just trying to choose something different.
So you're both referencing this. Adam, first, I am that dude right up in front. I'll take my cell phone out for maybe 1 or 2 pictures, 1 or 2 videos, then I put it away. I notice these days a lot of people are posting and tweeting and videoing a lot of live events and so forth. You reference seeing a person's face. Adam, as a person on a stage, potentially seeing more phones than faces, do you not feel that takes away from that experience or moment, or it's just where society is at this stage?
It's not too bad at our shows. People can do whatever they want, can't they, to a degree. I'm quite happy for them to do whatever. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't even think to take my phone out at a show because I just don't see the point. And I think there's that much content out there now that you can pretty much get whatever you want, whenever you want, on pretty much any website, can you? If you wanted to see a really shaky, wobbly clip with terrible sound quality of that show that I went to at Deftones in Ireland. I'm sure there's 100,000 of them on YouTube that you could go and watch. And right now, and you never look back at your phone anyway, do you? I mean, who's actually watching it back? I don't get it. I mean, everyone's welcome to do whatever the bloody hell they want, as long as they just don't get in my way. I'm fine with it, you know. As long as they're not like right in my face doing it, because it just puts you off. But if they want to take a video because they want to remember that where they were or whatever, then I suppose that's better. I'm not going to start banning phones at gigs or anything like that. I mean, it's not too bad at our shows. I honestly think talking is probably a worse situation for the music scene, really, than phones. I mean, I'd be all right with everyone having a phone in the audience filming it, as long as they just didn't chat to each other, really. I think that's the thing that everyone needs to stop doing.
Matt, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not been too bad. I think a lot of our fans are quite respectful, but I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's an individual's sort of personal choice. If they want to stand there with their phone for the whole gig, then what can you do? But it's not a nice thing to think about. Like if everyone was just there watching the gig from behind their camera lens, it's just like, well, what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Does it mean that people value the fact that they've catalogued it more than the actual fact that they were there and experiencing it? Do you know what I mean? I think that would be quite sad. But I think it just depends. It maybe depends on the music scene or the genre. Do you know what I mean? Maybe our fans, I think, generally are just there to enjoy and experience our show, and that's amazing. You know, I think as long as they're not actually interfering with it. I mean, it's a very simple thing. Just put your phone there. Just put it there so that no one behind you can see the screen. You can film it. Maybe if you're too short, then that sucks. But whatever, it's like if you're on the front row and you're sort of really like putting it out in front of the singer's face or whatever, and especially if they've got the flash on, if the flash on their phone is on and they're just sort of holding it up like to the singer, it's like, stop, don't do that.
I love me a CD. I still budget for my CDs every month. For me, it's an energy exchange to say thank you to you guys for all the hard work. I love the journey of the choice, the booklet, the unpacking, the listening to song from 1 to whatever number. I'm unsure if you guys are or not aware, massive uptick of physical around the world. I read an article in Variety, in fact, 2 weeks ago, where they said last year in the US, 1.4 billion sales in vinyl, the biggest since 1983. 2 years ago, there were 5.9 million vinyls sold in the UK, the biggest since 1993. Again, last year in the UK, there's a basket of products that they gauge exchanges on. Based on these daily exchanges, which there needs to be a high number of each day, they're monitored for tax purposes. And because of the upsurge of CDs again, CDs are now back in the basket. And the research of all of this is that they're showing that it's the teenagers, it's the younger kids diving into this world, not necessarily the older nostalgic people in inverted commas. Then we have Spotify and the DSPs that people also consume music on. Matt, your observation of the landscape at the moment.
Yeah, it's something I do have a lot of interest in because especially it's really interesting with younger people. I think kids want to own something because so many things are just like a subscription or whatever. And I think the thing that hasn't changed is people's attraction to music and their emotional investment in that music, no matter what it is. You're sort of seeing it a lot of shows. Like there's a lot of like up and coming bands where there's a lot of fans like actually just wanting to be there and be part of a community and all that sort of thing. So whether it's just the sort of world's healing a little bit and people are like realizing that to own something is a really important thing, you know, because music ties itself to your life so much, and people obviously are starting to realize that it's like, or kids especially are starting to realize that it's an important thing to own, you know. So it's a nice positive thing, isn't it, I think?
Yeah. Adam, your thoughts?
It's very interesting. We did know those sort of numbers because we're sort of heavily involved in that. Obviously, it's a really good thing for music. I think that physical sales are on the uptick again. But I think, again, it's almost the same answer as the shows. I mean, that with the recording, writing and producing sort of process, the physical vinyl or whatever is it's the final destination, isn't it, of the work that you've been doing. And almost feels like a payoff. I mean, one of the proudest moments for me in the band in the last however many years, 10 years or whatever, was, seeing an actual an LP finished, done, ready to go out to people and actually physically holding it in your hand. And then when you look at things over the last however many years, not too distant past, there was a load of fuss about NFTs and like digital artwork and everything. And people are still going to want to hang things on the wall in frames. It doesn't mean that just because someone wants a picture of a digital monkey saved on the computer for 100,000 quid or something, it doesn't mean that people aren't going to want to have a print in a frame on the wall. I think that's a positive thing. Plus, in our particular genre as well, there's a lot of collectors, people who like to collect things and they like to get all the different versions of things and try and find rare stuff and all that. And I think it's quite quite a healthy sort of hobby, really. It's collecting vinyls or physical media is something to do. It's certainly a hobby that I enjoy. So I'm sure other people do as well.
Are NFTs still a thing? Because like they were everywhere for a minute, and now I haven't heard anything about it
Well,
until you mentioned it now.
I heard that eventually what happened is it just completely flopped. It was supposed to be the next big thing. It was supposed to be the next big Bitcoin, wasn't it? And all these celebrities were spending ridiculous money on it, and then they all became worth absolutely nothing, which I don't know enough about it, but for the little bit that I do know about it, I say, thank God for that, really, because it just sounds so naff,
Yeah.
I'm sort of glad it never happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Properly.
I know it's all secretive in your guys' world. You just came back from a tour. Adam, what can you tell us is coming up over the next period of time, or you're just decompressing for the moment?
We've got festivals booked, and then we're working on finding out what we're going to be doing with our booking managers and agents and whatever else for the rest of the year and into 27.
Matt, obviously you've toured before, and having just come back from the Europe tour or Europe leg, what is the main difference that you've picked up in your experience between the audiences in the UK compared to the rest of Europe?
That's a good question. I think there's a definite difference in when they got into us, because I think some of the UK fans have been here since like day one, whereas we didn't really start touring in Europe until about 2022. So I think there's a difference in some of the songs that they maybe get on board with, like because they've maybe only picked up in the last few years or some, I don't know. I think maybe some of the venues, especially in the Netherlands, are amazing. And we've been to really small towns that have got an amazing venue that's, holds about 800 people, and it's always really well specced out and you're really well looked after. I think some European countries, I think, look after their venues a little bit better than we do in the UK. I'm looking at sort of like the Paradiso, for example. We just went and sold that out in Amsterdam, and that's a historic venue, much like the Albert Hall in Manchester, whereas the Albert Hall was sort of empty for quite a few decades. But as far as I'm aware, the Paradiso's been there and it's been looked after for the last 50 years, 60 years. And that's how long it's been a venue, and it's had some really historic acts go through. And there's tons of places like that in the Netherlands and Germany as well. Like there's loads of great venues. It's a different sort of world. I won't really go into the politics of it, but it seems like the government are a bit more supportive, I suppose, is what I'd say, and help these places flourish a little bit more than I think. I think the UK has got a long way to go in terms of that sort of thing, considering it's one of our best exports is our music. I don't think it gets the support that it deserves. I did go political there. That's exactly
okay.
what I did, but
I love this next game. I know if I had to ask each of this question in 2 minutes, 20 minutes, or 5 years, I know your answer will be different. I understand that and I recognize that. I'm not saying favorite, NB. I'm just saying top of mind. Adam, if once we finish this conversation, you wanted to go listen to 5 other artists, who would those 5 artists be?
Well, so I can go you one better than that. I'll have a look at what I've last listened to on Spotify if you want. That's probably an easier way to do it. The new Deftones album, Private Music, very good. Dance on the Blacktop, an album by Nothing. The new EP from Soons, which is Suuns. It's The Breaks, it's called. That's good. An album called, which I wasn't familiar with, but I do quite like, and I'm getting into it. You'd Prefer an Astronaut by Hum. And the last one before that was the new Robin album, believe it or not, because the production value on that's fantastic. So there you go, that's 5.
There we go. Matt, your turn.
I'd say the first REM album. I think it's Murmur, maybe. I've been listening to that a lot. Like the first couple of REM albums are great. What else? There's the new album by Aura Kogan, and she's sort of like a singer-songwriter. She's got a new album out that's great. I've also been listening to a lot of Squeezed, who are a great UK band from like the late 70s. Art Garfunkel, I don't know if you've heard of him. I've been listening to a lot of him recently as well, especially the song Waters of March. That's like one of my favourite songs. Oh, there's a band called Hotline TNT, which I think whatever their latest album was, it's a big yellow album cover, but that's really good. Hotline TNT, I've been listening to that a lot.
So, Matt, first, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message to the audience, what would you like to say?
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Adam, over to you. Your final message.
Keep buying vinyls.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.